gonna call you Puppa because that's what I grew up calling
Come
you.
on, yep.
Puppa. Man, I was doing the math before we started. And the last time I saw you, your oldest son was a baby.
Yeah, my king.
Yeah, you were. I don't remember where we were at in LA, but I just remember picking you up, and your son was in the car seat.
Yeah, we went to your mama's house. Your mom was staying on Redondo.
Yeah,
she was staying on Redondo.
Yeah, and it's been. So how old is your oldest son?
King 11.
11. So it's been 11 years since I've seen you. 11, and life has been crazy these past 11 years.
Yeah,
and what's fascinating is like. It's been 11 years, but it never felt that way.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because like one thing I would say is that blood couldn't make us any closer.
Nah, definitely.
When I think about like our childhood and like we were with each other every weekend, every single weekend. And I think for me, when I think about our childhood and like how I always go over to your house, I think like your family and I think specifically our friendship gave me some kind of security in being seen because you were the oldest of your siblings and I was the oldest. And we saw. You were the first, I would say, brother figure that I had who I can see eye to eye because I was always looking after my younger siblings. That's how you were.
Right.
We played Pop Warner football together. We fought together. We ran away from fights together. Like we did everything.
Yeah.
And when I think about what it's like growing up in LA and trying to navigate those waters as a young kid.
Yeah.
And then how much our homes impacted us, but also understanding that we had to be our own man and make our own decisions and take accountability and responsibility.
Yeah.
I think I really want to start with like, you know, we basically spent our childhood together up into middle school and that's when we split.
Exactly.
Do you know why I left? Have I ever told you the story?
I don't think we ever talked about it in depth because I do remember a season where I believe you was living with your coach.
That was in high school. I'm talking about 8th grade when I left.
8th grade.
I don't think I ever told you.
I mean, because I remember when you, a little bit. I don't, because I remember when y'all moved to Palmdale.
Yeah.
Remember, I used to get on the train by myself and come up there. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh my God, bro, you did come to Palmdale. Yeah. I completely forgot about that.
I used to get on the train and take the train from the Union Station.
I forgot about
to
that.
Palmdale, bro.
Wow, bro. I swear to God, I forgot about that because Palmdale was such a blur to me because I was only there for a year.
Yeah.
I was getting a lot of trouble and I ended up going with my dad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share the story with you because I think it's important for context of like why I left LA in the first place. So just like any other household, you never really know what's going on in the home between the parents.
Right.
You know, I had a young mom. My mom had me when she was 15. I think your mom had you around the same age. 15.
Yep.
And you know, I think over the years, I think as we became men, we see how young 15 really is to have a child, right?
Boy.
And my mom and dad had a lot of issues in the home. And I think my mom and dad were portrayed as like this perfect couple.
Yeah.
And we're in the hood where we was from because simply they were together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, them being together is just, they're already kind of a gold standard.
Right.
But there was a lot of stuff going on in my home between my parents that I think a lot of like Black families deal with when it comes to like verbal and physical abuse, all because of the lack of resources and tools to express their emotions, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And long story short, my mom, so when I was in 8th grade, my mom would leave every weekend. We lived with my granny on Broadway at this time.
Yeah.
And we lived there because we didn't have anywhere to stay at the time. And my mom would leave every weekend and say she was going to Vegas and going gambling. Remember, we in the streets playing around as kids, so I'm not really paying attention to what she's saying.
Right.
The day of my 8th grade graduation, I walked the stage. My mom and dad both come to my graduation, but my dad's staying with his mom on somewhere in South Central.
Yeah.
And I get home from the graduation. My mom walks me in the back room. She says, CJ, you got to make a decision. You either coming with your daddy or you staying with me.
Wow.
I have no idea what she's talking about. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you got to just make a decision. I'm like, okay. And I was like, my brother and my sister decided to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm going to stay with my dad. I'm not going to just up and leave him.
Yeah.
Sure enough, she takes off wherever she goes. I sit there for like 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, something's telling me to go with my mom.
Yeah.
She comes back and gets me. We drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to a fully furnished 3-bedroom house in Palmdale.
Dang.
Yeah. So we left my dad.
Dang.
And my dad had no idea.
Wow.
No idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from there, that's why I left LA. And I think that from then, the trajectory of my life really, really changed because I experienced not having my dad for a year. I experienced kind of breaking trust from what I thought my mom and dad had.
Yeah.
And my journey starts from there. And I'm wondering like so in that time when I left, you know, we're in those pivotal years of going into high school and middle school.
Right.
What when you were kind of at that age when we were leaving, where were you at? Because I feel like we were really close.
Yeah.
We were really into like football
Yeah.
and girls.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure.
doing the best we can in school.
Right.
Like where we from, like sports came first, school
Right.
second, because we didn't have the resources in school how, more wealthier schools have.
Yeah.
So where were you at that time?
I don't know if you remember. I'm gonna just go back just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember. I think we might have been playing with Butch, and we had got chosen to be a part of the All-Star game, right?
Yeah, Snoop Dogg's football league, right?
Yep. So we had got chosen to be a part of the All-Star game, and I remember going to the practices at what you call that, at Jackie Robinson Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the game, bro. I remember the game. We played, and it was freezing. We played in Pomona.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
It was freezing, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being a quarterback. I was starting quarterback, and I remember saying hike. And every time I would hike the ball, I would fumble it. I would drop it at the snap because my hands were so cold. I couldn't feel my hands.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't feel the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So just saying that to say, I remember thinking to myself at that moment, I think I was about 11 years old, that I might not go to the NFL. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My dream, every day waking up was Madden, NCAA. I want to be Reggie Bush. I want to be Michael Vick. I want to be all these people. I was thinking to myself, I might not make it to the NFL. I was 11. So now, mind you, at 11, we in the 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So with my dad having a music history and having a music background, I love to see him do it. I ain't never lived in a house where we didn't have a studio in it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every single house that I ever lived in, we always had a studio. But it wasn't a dream of mine to get into music.
Yeah, and that's something you were very vocal about when we used to get to your house. Like you would like write. I remember we used to like write lyrics and stuff. Because your dad was always playing beats. Right. But football was a thing for us.
Exactly.
We used to go to the football because you lived right across the street from Fremont.
Exactly.
Fremont High School, and we used to go over there and throw the ball, just me and you, and just trying to get better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't a thing for me. So now I'm going to Henry Clay Middle School, and I ain't gonna even lie. This was probably the first time that I realized that it was other gangs outside of the Hoovers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So growing up,
explain that in depth a little bit, like how gang culture works in LA, because people listening probably don't understand.
Yeah, so pretty much every street that you could walk on is owned by a gang, not owned by a gang, but it's claimed by a gang.
Which means that you're essentially in different danger and territory if you don't really understand where you're at.
And the craziness about that is that this is this table. We got this table. I'm right here. I'm in one hood, and you right there. You in another hood, and we don't get along with each other.
Yeah, and and a lot of times these are like hated enemies.
Yeah,
like they hate each other.
Exactly. It's a lot of bloodshed, a lot of tears, a lot of emotion riled up in this rivalry. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm in a space where I'm growing up. All I'm hearing, it was 3 gangs that I knew at the time when I was in elementary school. It was the Hoovers, it was the South Lows, they're a Hispanic gang, and it was the Divin Lane Bloods. They was across the street. So when I got to Henry Clay, that's when my mind opened up to where it was like, okay, now I'm hearing about other gangs. So
and Henry Clay is the middle school you went to, right?
Yeah. So I attended Henry Clay Middle School from 6th grade to 8th grade. So now I'm meeting new people, and we still playing football. It's a gang of our childhood friends that was at Henry Clay with me and stuff like that. And now I'm looking for an outlet, right? So the thing with me is I was infatuated with everything that I didn't see in my home. So I was provided with a great father. Like from there's never been a time that my father wasn't around. You get what I'm saying? Even when him and my mom was going through whatever they was going through, we never seen it outside of a petty argument. You get what I'm saying? So now I'm seeing my mom. I'm seeing my mom hustle. I'm seeing my mom, work, little jobs, $8 here and there. We
doing hair.
Exactly. All type of stuff. So I'm seeing her hustle. And my dad always had a good job to, my understanding and stuff like that. So now I'm infatuated with what I'm not seeing. So it's like, okay, I'm seeing this dude, he coming. We 11 years old, we 12 years old. He walking to school with a bandana out of his pocket. And to me, like I'm knowing the deal. I'm knowing that it's like, okay, he probably from somewhere, but I just thought it was fly. Like I thought bandanas was fly, and I'm not somebody that was driven by like the Snoop Dogs and all of the I guess you would say celebrities who were quote unquote gang banging. that never enticed me. I was enticed by the dudes that was my age. So around that time, it's like, okay, I'm figuring out. So now I'm starting to claim hoods. I'm not from nowhere. I'm just claiming hoods.
That's how it always starts too, dog. It always
Yeah.
starts that way. Explain what that means by like claiming a hood.
So when you claim a hood, that's pretty much you putting yourself a part of a gang, but you never made yourself official, or you never went to that hood and got official. So when you go to a hood and you get your official, you gonna however their protocol is in that neighborhood, you're gonna fight that many people. So
or for that many seconds or whatever. Yeah. So like even like in middle school for me, like I knew about Crips because my family were Crips.
Right,
and I had one cousin who was a blood who's from Piru. And I remember being in middle school, you hear Piru this, blood this, Crip this, but everybody was friends. It was like it's really middle school was a very interesting time for a kid in gang culture because everybody was friends, but they also didn't like each other because their gangs didn't like each other.
Exactly.
And I remember I started claiming stuff saying blood this, blood that because I had friends from Cedar Block, Piru.
Right.
And I remember I'm saying blood this and blood that, but when I'm 10 minutes later, I'm saying cuz this and cuz that. So I'm trying to find myself because I think at that age, you're trying to herd or find your group because that's what you do at that age.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
Nah, you good, brother. So, but it's crazy how even as a child, you know, you have a sense of discernment, you know? So I knew where I belonged and where I didn't belong at the same time. So though I grew up in the Hoovers, it was like I knew a few of them because I went to elementary school with them. But when I kicked it with those guys, I never felt like
it was home.
Like it was home.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So when I got to Henry Clay, you know, it was a gang of different gangs up there too. It was some H-Ray gangsters up there. I learned about them. Matter of fact, I learned about them in elementary school as well. I had a homeboy that was from H-Ray gangsters. He was official in middle school. So I knew about the H-Ray gangsters. So we had a few dudes that was from H-Ray gangsters up there. We had some Rolling Honey Crips. We had some Raymond Crips. We had some East Coast Crips. You know, so now I'm hearing a variety of different gangs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I felt I got close to my boy BJ. You know, I got close to my boy BJ in the 6th grade. And Drees, you know Drees. Yeah, Drees played with us. You know, that was, you know, my squad. So
Drees' dad just died, didn't he?
Yeah, he just passed. It's going on this October, it might be 2 years. You know, he got killed on a Friday. And that's, you know, man, it's deep, you know. So I you know, got to kicking it with BJ's older brother, you know, and I remember being 11 years old, and he had got into it with some dudes from his neighborhood. You get what I'm saying? And we had went to a certain section because the Rolling Hundreds, which is where I'm from, it's a bunch of different gangs that make up one gang.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we so big of gang, like each gang is so big that we can beef with each other. You get what I'm saying? So I remember being like 11 years old and walking from the Hoovers to the 111 neighborhood Crips, which was across the road from us. It was walking to where we went. It was probably like a 25-minute walk. I walk with him to fight some teenagers. You get what I'm saying? I'm 11. He about 14 at the time.
This is when you're just claiming, right? You're not part of it.
At this time, I wasn't claiming. I was just trying to be a good friend.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was always big on loyalty.
Yeah.
Even when I didn't fully understand what loyalty was.
Yeah.
It was something that was just in me. Like, man, this is my boy. I'm not finna let him go by himself. And I'm not even looking at the age gap out the age difference. I'm just looking at it like I love him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we go over there, and you know they squabble up. They do what they gotta do, and that was that. But when the closer I got to him and I understood his gang culture and where he was from, and I seen the love that he had got, or whatever the case may be, I wanted to be a part of that. But also when I started being introduced to these dudes, it's like I never felt pressure. You feel me? They wasn't like, you know, I do hear stories where dudes like, oh, you hanging out? Like, when you gonna get your put on? When you gonna be a part of the hood? Whatever, you know. That's not my story. You know, when I chose to get put on, that was a decision that I made on my own. It was no pressure. And matter of fact, if I'm being completely honest, they knew me from playing football. They knew me from being solid and stuff like that. So when I decided to get put on the hood, it was dudes trying to talk me out of it. You know?
Really? That's really, really rare. Like,
that's
really,
it was
really
dudes
rare.
like, man, nah, bro, you know, you playing ball, like you got a future. Like, you know, you ain't gotta be from the hood. Just keep doing what you doing. Like, you know, and I was just like, nah, like I'm ready to run my face. Like, let's get this out the way.
I'm interested in that because, like, to me, you say you didn't feel like it was home.
Yeah.
And you had a good dad and you had a good mom and you understood teamwork from playing football.
Right.
but you were attracted by something. Like, what was it? You know what I'm saying? Because I think like a lot of the times when I hear about gang culture and people joining gangs, and I've been there before where I was like, I wanted to be a part of something.
Right.
Whereas when people join gangs, they say, well, I was just being a follower. I wasn't the leader.
Yeah.
And what I find fascinating about that is that when people say that they're like most of these guys who say that they're followers, when you listen to them talk, you would never think they were a follower. You're a leader. Right. Like you're a leader.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
You're a leader. But I think I've heard you say like I was being a follower and I was just following that line. Right. So what does that mean for somebody who actually is a leader?
So it's not understanding your role. You get what I'm saying? I feel like at the time I was following people that was following me, and I didn't understand that. So it's like and just to get back, I was seeking for a validation. So I remember doing an interview before, and they asked me like, and I just said it blatantly, like, I was a follower, and like the truth is though, it's like, yeah, I was very much being a follower, but I felt like I was seeking a validation that wasn't necessary, So as I'm seeking this validation, it's like I'm not thinking that I'm seeking validation because in my mind, I'm already a stand-up guy. And everybody already look at me as a stand-up guy. So in my mind, though, it's like, okay, I gotta be a part of this in order for me to feel how I want to feel.
What were you looking for, you think?
If I'm being honest, I still can't tell you.
Yeah.
I still can't tell you.
Yeah.
But I think too, would it be a guess maybe, is that it was a darkness in me. It was a darkness in me that I felt like I had to explore. And I felt like that gave me an excuse to do it.
Yeah. What you're saying is so true, but I think I appreciate you for saying that because I think the darkness that we have to explore is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think depending on where you grow up, your darknesses are different, right?
Exactly.
So some people, it may be drugs.
Exactly.
Young, and for us, it was gang culture.
Exactly.
And it almost it was almost like gang culture was first and then drugs were second, if you really think about it, right?
Nah, definitely. But it felt normal though. I feel I think that was like the biggest thing as well. Like, I didn't look at gangbanging like it was a bad thing. I looked at it like it was just a part of life.
That's a fact.
For real.
That's
like,
a fact.
So when you on the outside looking in, like, and when I'm not even talking about from a different state. You could be somebody who's trying to hire me. I'm trying to get a job, and you see me with tattoos, and you see me with all these things. You look at gang culture as just this bad thing, and for me, it was just like, man, these the homies. Like these my cousins. Like how y'all portray it, how y'all looking at it. I never, and like also too, like being a kid, it's like I knew people got shot, and I knew people went to prison, and I knew people died.
That's just the way it was. It was normal to us.
It was normal.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how detrimental it was to be a part of a gang at that age. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that played a big part of it too. So when I'm making a decision to be a part of a gang, while everybody is like, oh my God, why you doing that? You messing up your life, you destroying your life. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I'm wondering, do you feel like what you were doing? Well, I have two questions. One, do you feel like being in a gang is detrimental? Like, what's your perspective on that? And two, when you say you're looking for, would you say that being in a gang and being on a football team felt the same?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Right? The reason why I'm gonna say no is because the influence is different. Like being on a football team, it's encouraging, it's motivating, it's inspiring. It gives you something to look forward to. Being part of a gang, once you do it, depending on how fast your mind works, when you be a part of it, you like, it ain't nothing finna come from this.
Yeah.
It's nothing inspiring about this. It's nothing motivating about this. Not
even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Damn.
Because what I love my older homies, right? I love my older homies, but I didn't spend a lot of time with them because I feel like it was nothing that I could really learn. And the things that I did learn was that I don't want to spend too much time doing this. So it's like when I'm pulling up to my section or any section, I ain't gonna even just put a glass on my neighborhood, any neighborhood where I'm pulling up and I'm seeing dudes. I'm 30, I'll be 31 in a few days. So even now, when I'm rolling past neighborhoods and I'm seeing dudes out there, you 40 years old and you just posted up, it's like, that's the mind state it gave you. It makes you complacent. It gives you the spirit of procrastination. It gives gangbanging it gives you spirits that drugs give you. So some people who smoke weed, they say, you know, they can't function without it. You know, some people can't function without the neighborhood, you know. But me, I look at it like it's I can't see myself pulling up to this same spot every single day for the rest of my life. And every time I'm pulling up, y'all, it's, hey, what you got going on? You started a business, you in school, you like, what's happening? It's nothing happening. Ain't nobody talking to me about nothing that's encouraging or that's gonna make me better. Don't nobody care about my kids. You know, I had my son at 19. This in the piddle. This like in my era where I'm really turned.
Yeah, you out there. Like
I'm
that.
turned, you know. So I'm coming to the hood. Ain't nobody asking me about my son. Ain't nobody helping me with my son. I'm out here broke. I ain't got no money. I ain't got no dreams. I'm done playing football. I'm 19 at this point. I dropped out of college. So it's like, ain't nothing motivating. Ain't nobody looking out for me. Ain't nobody asking about my mom. Ain't nobody asking about my dad. But the people, like the one who brought me to the hood, he the only person. It's like, you know, that's granted, this my friend, but it's like outside of what you can offer them, it's like, what else is there? It's nothing. Like if you can't offer us nothing, then we don't care about you. So
you said something earlier where you said it's about how fast you can learn. It's phenomenal that you were able to learn that quick at 19, because it usually takes a lot longer for people to learn that there's not much here, because I think everybody is enamored by the money, the girls, the cars, and somewhat getting in trouble. I think getting in trouble it's fun to a certain degree, especially out here. Like getting in trouble was fun. We used to, from little things from ding dong ditch to tagging up something and running, or even getting into a fight. There was a thrill to it at that age as a young man, right?
Exactly.
So what would you say had you pay attention? And I'm wondering if it has something to do with where you actually called home, like your actual mom and dad, and having that foundation. Because a lot of us, I mean, a lot of people where we're from don't have the foundation that we both had.
No, definitely. That definitely played a part, because I started gangbanging young. My parents didn't find out. They didn't find out that I was banging until I was like 22, 23.
So, how hard was it for you to keep that a secret?
It was, so I feel like my mom, I feel like she definitely had conversations with my dad about it. Cause I used to come home with knots, all type of stuff was, you know, I was coming home and I'd tell her I was fighting. My mama knew that I had a temper. Like it wasn't, like she knew, like I had a temper. My dad knew that I had a temper. They knew that I was a squabbler. That's what I did. So to an extent, it was not really no abnormalities to that. It was just like, oh, this dude had a fight. So I feel like it played a big part though, because I never wanted them to find out. You know, I feel like it was my responsibility to keep my street life away from home. So it's like, you could say that I was hiding it, but at the same time, I really wasn't, because I just felt like, okay, I have to keep this away from my home. That's my way of keeping y'all safe. You know, I wasn't thinking of it as in the sense like, once I get caught, I'm gonna get in trouble, which I knew I was gonna get in trouble. Don't get me wrong. But on a maturity side, it's like, I can't let this get to my front door. I can't let it get to my granny front door, because now it's not just about me. Now it's about everybody.
And you don't ever want to bring the streets into your home.
Exactly. So having that foundation though, it always played in the back of my mind. Like when I'm out robbing and when I'm out, you know, doing all of the negative things that came with being a part of a gang, it's like, what my mama gonna think if she find out? What my pop's gonna think if he find out? What it's gonna be like when I got a call from a cell? Like, I thought about these things. Like, there's never a second, I'm talking about the whole time I'm in the field, I'm thinking about these things. Like, I'm thinking about my baby. Like, I don't want to be talking to my baby through a cell, or he got to come see me and we putting our, you know, these things, that foundation does play a big role in the decisions that you 100%. Make when you in the street. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I got 4 people in the car with me and they don't care. They don't got the same foundation that I got. So in this moment, I'm either going to be a follower or I'm going to be a leader. And in these moments is where I felt like I was being a follower. And what made me pay attention when we speak on validation, when we was talking about validation, what made me pay attention was that every time somebody did something, just with my group, not everybody, just the people that I was around, they would look at me to see if I was proud of what they was doing. And every time I did something, I was looking at them to see if they was going to validate me. And it was like, oh man, Poppa just jumped out and whipped the dude out on the curve, or Poppa just whatever it was, that's what it was. So it's like now my name is ringing a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I'm thinking about it. It was like a high, you know, and that's what it becomes. So now when you see the social media and all this type of stuff and people seeking validation through street acts on social media, it's because it creates a high for you. It's like everybody talking about you. And because you feel like you never been a type of person that got any type of attention, you might didn't get attention from your mom. You might didn't get attention from your dad, or you might didn't get attention from school. And now you got 10,000 people watching you on live because you didn't did something stupid. It's a high. So it's like, how can I keep feeling like I'm loved? Because some people confuse it. Some people confuse popularity
with love,
with respect. So you thinking that because you doing these things that people respect you, and it's like it all comes back down to the hood. Yeah, they gonna talk about what Poppa did, but they gonna talk about what the hood did.
Yeah.
So that's when you hear people saying, ain't nobody bigger than the program. It's a saying that, you know, we got out here in LA, ain't nobody bigger than the program, because no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter how turned you are, ain't nobody bigger than the hood. So yeah, they know who you are, but they putting everything on the hood. The Hoovers did this. The Rolling Hunters did that. The 60s did this. They don't always, they gonna try to figure out like who did what, but it's gonna be the 60s, the 40s, the 30s, or the Black P Stones. Like, it's the hood. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Everything falls on the hood. So I think when I was out there, I was high, not literally off a drug or off a drink or whatever the case may be. It was just the fact that people was talking about me. And when I couldn't play football no more, when I didn't have enough money to pursue my boxing career, I couldn't pay to pay somebody to train me, because that's what I wanted to do after football was done. I wanted to box, but I couldn't pay nobody to train me because I didn't have a job and all these type of things. It was like, this is where I'm getting what I want. How I want to feel is I'm getting it from the streets, and that's what kept me as long as it kept me, like, you know.
So when you think about that, and you know, I think a lot of people struggle with like finding their group or feeling loved or feeling validated. And you look back and you look at that Poppa from 11 to 19, like that whole trajectory, and you think about the home that you lived in, mom, dad, there for you, and you still being able to go out and like find validation. What would you say to someone who is trying to find that within themselves at such a young age?
Find God. You like people think that you got to be a certain age to have a relationship with God, and I feel like this is what people don't know about me. I was 10 years old, 11 years old, trying to understand the Bible. So yes, I had my mom and my dad and my granny, and I felt like they was definitely praying for me. But I feel like by me being interested in God so young, I feel like that's what truly kept me. So I feel like the younger you are, the closer you are to God, even with, like, whether you know it or not. Because the older you get, the more tainted you become. So I feel like anybody, you can be 10 to whatever age, like, I feel like you really have a strong connection to the spiritual realm. And you get these discernments and you get these feelings that are real, even when you can't really articulate it. So I feel like throughout everything that I ever did, all of the negative stuff that I ever did in my life, I knew for a fact that I felt the Spirit of God, even when I was doing wrong. So I feel like trying your best to understand the spiritual realm is what's going to dictate your ability to be able to maneuver out of situations.
Bro, what you're saying is so true. And I think what I think about is, when you think about yourself as a kid, I remember my finest moments with God is like I was living in Inglewood at the time, and I remember playing in the grass and just felt this presence of just like being in the grass. And it's funny because as you get older and you go to church and you see things online and you learn things from other people, you realize that people are flawed. And now you're the way that you perceive God starts to change based on other people. And when you're a child, it's like God says, come to him like a child, like have faith like a child. And as you get older, it's harder to do that because people are putting their perceptions of God and their experiences on you. And it comes to a point where it's almost hard to understand who God really is, because you essentially have a bunch of different gods
Yeah.
from all these other people and their
Yeah.
experiences.
Right.
So I love what you said, because I think that's something that I would say it's hard for people to understand, because I think God, the term God is like really watered down now.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
watered down. And I think growing up in Black culture, one thing that I struggle with in my faith was like, just pray about it. That just bothered me, because I'm like, no, I got to do something too. You know, I got to do something to get out of my situation. I got to do something to make myself feel better.
Right.
God is there for me, but I need to do something.
Right.
Right. So I wonder, what was that like for you? So you're in that age of 11 through 19, you're figuring it out. You know, you got mom and pops at home. You have everything that from the outside world says that you need to stay out of trouble, which is being in a gang. But being in a gang is a cultural thing for us. And we didn't see it as a bad thing.
Right.
As kids, it was like you kind of went into this group of people who had your back.
Right.
And it's not until you get older where you realize, oh, this is not going to end anywhere.
Yeah,
because we're too young to understand that.
Right.
When I left with my mom, right, I went to Palmdale for a year and I was getting in trouble. And long story short, I was, fighting and doing all that stuff in Palmdale. And I went with my dad to a small town called Bombay Beach. I don't think you ever really knew this.
No.
And when I went to Bombay Beach, that's when I really found myself and had to like figure out what it is that I was going to do to get myself out of the situation. Bombay Beach was a 4x4 block town in the middle of the desert, right by Mexico.
Wow.
And I think for me, that was kind of my way out of like, I need to take accountability and responsibility for myself if I want to get up out of here, because I don't have the resources and the tools that could automate my life to get me up out of here.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for really young people in general, but I will say young Black males, because we were young Black males in LA with all the negative influences that we now see are negative, that are painted as positive when we were kids. You need something to grasp onto to make your situation better, because at some point you have to take accountability. I always say, like, we all have to play the cards that we've been dealt.
Definitely.
Right. And I think that when you understand the cards that you have, it's up to you to play them. Now, like, you have your family, that's one card. You have your socioeconomic status. You have your actual health and body. You have the way that you think, the way that you process. You have all these things, and it's ultimately up to you to do something. As hard as that may sound, you know, like, and I think that for you, it was a very spiritual encounter, which is very real. It's not up to anybody to say whether it was real or fake.
Right.
For me, I think not having to experience the gang culture and experience like the whatever that life entails, it took me to look at myself and make a conscious decision to do something with the sport that I still could play in high school. And I think it's important to understand that there is no right or wrong way. I think it's your way.
Definitely.
And I think whether it's trying to figure out the spiritual component of your life or taking the bull by the horns and doing something yourself. The thing that I struggled with when I was a kid was, like, I started going to church with you and your mom on Broadway. On Broadway. I remember one time your mom caught the Holy Ghost, bro. I got so scared. I was like, bro, what is going on, bro? And I remember like going to church with y'all and like trying to understand who God was in a real sense. And I didn't have a foundation that you had in your home. So when I went to Bombay, it was more like, I need to do something to get up out of here. And when I got up out of there, I wrestled with, is it me or is it God really doing this for me? And I never really understood it, because the results came from the work. And God was something that a person I just spoke to in hopes that he heard me. Not really knowing if he actually really did. Now, going down, when I look at my life now, God was there the whole time.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to honor that and try your best to not calculate where he's at and how he's doing it, whatever, because it's never going to work out that way.
Exactly.
Like, I'm listening to you explain this story, I'm just like, I couldn't imagine. Like, I couldn't imagine going through that. And I couldn't imagine like how freeing it is, but how frightening it is at the same time. So when I think about our lives now, who we are, I would say we're exactly where we want to be, right? Where we want to be, where we're supposed to be, and what we're called to do. And I think it's important to think about, I guess, to like respect those two different journeys. I think it's really difficult to understand the complexities within each of the
Right.
journeys. Like we both came from the same hoods,
Yeah.
the same place.
Right.
We took different journeys in middle school, and now we're back as grown men,
Right.
raising kids, trying to find our way.
Right.
And I think it's something that we should be proud of ourselves of, and also knowing that like it's never really going to end, because you say that it's it's spiritual and it's demons and it's all spiritual, and the way that I view it is very much the same. But I think about it in a very like psychological, sociological
Definitely
space.
Yeah.
Where I feel like for me, like I always say something, I always say I like in marriage and with my kids, I find myself fighting going back to my default settings.
Okay.
And my default settings are what I saw my mom do, what I saw my dad do to us, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm defaulting back to that. And that's really difficult for me to stop, because that's what I saw at that age.
Right.
And it quote unquote worked for me, because I ended up being okay.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
And I think I go back to talking about the resources that we did or didn't have. It's like now I'm figuring out how to navigate fatherhood and being married on my own, because I didn't see a marriage all the way through. My mom and dad got divorced.
Right.
And it's hard to find resources from when you didn't grow up with them.
Yeah.
And the very thing you're trying to do failed over and over. And it feels like that's
Definitely.
something that we're constantly dealing with all the time.
And you see, what's crazy for me though is that I feel like I've never seen it fail. So the closest people to me, as far as like okay, on my mother's side, I got my auntie Risha and her husband Jason. They a little bit younger than my mom. Got married young. Pretty sure that they didn't have their ups and downs. Still married. I got my auntie Nisi, my uncle Leonard. My whole life since before I was born, still married. Ma T, still married. My mom and my dad got married, went through a phase, still married. You get what I'm saying? So my objective on just love and marriage is like I ain't never seen it fail. So that gives me a lot of hope, because I know it's a lot of people, it's enough people around me to get sound advice to where, I'm able to do things, properly in my marriage when I do become married. As far as being a father, I just take everything that I see my dad do, plus everything that I didn't see him do, and add it to what I do. You get what I'm saying? But also I realized too that every single one of us got a different version of my dad, and it's not that he loved any of us less. It's that as he got older and he became wise, he became a different father for every single one of them.
Yeah.
For every single one of us. So I got a chill, laid back version of my dad, but I still respected my dad. You get what I'm saying? Zion, same thing. Chill, relaxed version. Well, I feel like every single one of us got the chill, relaxed version of him. Ariel, Jacoby, and Baby J, Jair, I feel like they get a overly relaxed pops. Like, you feel me? Mom's like, she ain't smacking and doing all of the stuff that she did to us. Everybody got a different version. So I feel like, I'm at a space where I'm just so in tune with myself that I kind of got, what I feel like works for being a parent and raising responsible, respectful children with integrity. You get what I'm saying? Because I don't want, and it's impossible. And this is what I'm learning too. It's impossible for them not to take their own road. I did a song called I Can't Make This Up. And in the chorus, I'm saying, I was never taught to be a man. Lately, I've been doing what I can. And people will look at it like, you ain't never not had your dad. But I look at it like, it's things that my dad just wasn't responsible for teaching me, because I had to learn it on my own. And I'm not saying it in the sense of, he couldn't teach me or wouldn't teach me. It was this journey between me and God. So sometimes we be looking at people and we be wondering why we're not getting certain things from them, not understanding that God has enabled that point or that part of them so that you can walk that walk with him. You get what I'm saying? So now I understand, like, okay, all I can do for my children is the best that I could do. All I can teach them is to the best of my abilities. But God still got his design for them. And whether we like it or not, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So as a parent and as a man and in life, that's what gives me way more comfort now than I experienced in my previous years, is that understanding, like how you was talking about, like how you did the work. And people don't understand that God works like a mirror. It's like, yeah, you pray, you worship, and you do everything that you can to become and be on one accord with him. But he has the power to say yes or no. And that's what a lot of people, they probably don't understand or don't want to understand. You can do everything right. I remember a conversation with you, bro, that you told me Bill Belichick told you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
you got the smile, you got the mannerism, you got the talent, and sometimes it could just not be for you.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, so just taking that to real life, you can do all the work. You can do everything that you're supposed to do. You can have all of the talent in the world, and God say no. And this is why it's important to have that relationship, because you got to know how and when to pivot. So like right before I gave up music and stuff like that, right before I gave up to music, I had an encounter with P. Diddy. So, you know, I did a writer's camp, just to keep everything short. I did a writer's camp, and you know, once the writer's camp was over with, I was there for like 2 days. Once the writer's camp was over, the flesh in me was like, I'm really finna make it.
I actually remember this time in your life.
Yeah, like I'm finna make it. Like it's over. Like everything that I've been working in like humbly, I know that I'm talented when it comes to making music, songwriting, my ability to ride a track and all these type of things. I know that God gave me that gift, right? Sometimes God puts us in places so that we understand why we're not supposed to stay there. So when I got 26, 27, I understood that it was just a season. The streets was a season. Music was a season, because even though it didn't work out the way I seen fit for it to work out, it still saved me.
Yeah.
It was a part of God saving me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now I'm in a space where, like we said, I'm working on being married, and, you know, I'm a father now. These are things that I can tell my kids, like, look, don't ever run from the season. Don't ever be afraid or embarrassed of the season, because your outcome depends on your ability to trust God in these seasons.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes down to. It's not what you go through, it's how you go through it.
Yeah.
And it's not about the wait, it's how you wait.
Yeah.
So once I became understanding of these situations, that's when I began to say, okay, now I'm living. I'm living now, because now I'm able to be filled. Now I'm able to be used. People hate to be used. Life is about being used. The only people that's not used are those that are useless. You feel me?
Yeah.
Everybody is going to be used. You are here to be serviced. That's what we hear. So people don't understand. It's like, it's me. It's like, no, you don't start living until you access that part of your mind that tells you and lets you know that my life is about serving other people.
Yeah. And I think service is a really fascinating thing, because I think service is really freeing.
Yeah.
Like for me in marriage, like I've really come to the point where I've realized the more that I can serve my wife, the happier that I am.
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult thing to deal with, because I think as our natural state as beings is to receive and feel loved and whatever.
Right.
And it's really difficult to explore being of service to people, because being of service feels like you're like giving out a lot of energy that you're not going to get back.
Right.
But to let go and to serve is something that's really a skill.
Yeah.
One.
Right.
And two, it's freeing if you're willing to explore it. And I'm sitting here listening to us talk, bro. Like I'm so proud of like what you've been through, because I think that when I think about my journey and I look at you in your eyes, I'm like, my life could be just like yours. And your life could be just like mine.
Yeah.
And it's these little nuances that make such a huge difference. And I think that when we look at ourselves, like you would say that you're proud of yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I would say that I'm proud of myself.
Right.
And no matter what the trajectory was, where our lives went, we found home, how you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think that for everybody who's listening, trying to find home, like I think like I always say this, like we're either taking things, we're taking things day by day, or we have to understand that everything works out how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
What would you say is the one that's really led you in your life? Taking things day by day or just understanding everything happens how it's supposed to?
I say because I was a day by day person, I was a little bit of both, right?
Mhm.
I got into moments. That's what I'm into today. I'm into moments because even 24 hours can be overwhelming depending on what you're experiencing.
And the season of life that you're in.
Exactly. So I'm in the season that I'm in that I like to just handle this moment. Because when I walk out of this door, God's will, I'm going to encounter another moment. And then after that moment, it's going to be another moment. And then so on and so forth. And I feel like if you learn how to handle things one moment at a time and you become familiar with handling the moment, like if you go to job, if you go to work, all right, you got 8 hours to be here. That's whatever your schedule is. That's all you can do in that moment because that's what you signed up for. So after that moment is over, okay, now you got to drive home. You got to make it home. You get to your house, whatever. These are moments. So when you're going through stress, when you're going through financial hardships, when you're going through anxiety, all of these things that you're feeling, don't overwhelm yourself with what you got to do for that entire day. Don't overwhelm yourself with goals for the week or goals for the month. Let me just take care of this moment. Let me live in this moment. Let me be in this moment. So though I'm experiencing anxiety, though I'm experiencing, any hardships, health problems, whatever it is that you may be experiencing, let me deal with this moment. Now, while I'm dealing with this moment, I understand that what's happening in this moment, I'm going to be happy while I'm experiencing it because it's still a blessing in disguise, whether I like it or not. So I'm going to experience this moment. I'm going to be happy while I'm going through what I'm going through. And when this moment is over, I'll deal with the next one. That's what helps me get through days because I'm in the season right now where I started a nonprofit 2 years ago. I'm working 16 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I got 4 children. I got 4 stepchildren. You get what I'm saying? I'm engaged. I'm finna be married. And, Lord's will, not a month, but a year or so. So life is already a lot.
A lot. And it's always going to be a lot.
It's never going to not be a lot. But what makes me to look and feel good is handling these things one moment at a time. Okay, my fiance, she's experienced a moment. Okay, in this moment, let's pray. In this moment, let's talk. My daughter is having a moment. In this moment, let's pray. In this moment, let's talk. Or let's go have a good time. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's just not do nothing. But all we can do is handle this moment accordingly. And we want to handle each moment not giving too much power to our lower selves. Because we tend to do that when we experiencing things. Or even when we can be in a good mood. We can be in a great mood. And sometimes what you got to do tomorrow mess up your mood today. And you might not even be going through nothing. You're like, dang, I'm back on the job tomorrow. I don't want to deal with my boss. I don't want to. Let's just deal with this.
Yeah.
Let's focus on this. Let's feel good. Because when you get to that state of dealing with moments accordingly, I feel like everything else is just like, it just happens then.
Yeah.
It just happens. It's not so much anxiety and so much overwhelmingness. Like, I feel like 24 hours is a long time, though it's very short. But I feel like we make it a long time by thinking about what we got to do. Sometimes just do it.
Yeah.
It got to get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It got to get done.
Amen to that, bro. It has to get done.
It got to get done.
And I think like taking things, day by day, being in the moment is freeing as well. And I think the more that we can understand that, the more I think we're able to like function through life.
Yeah.
And I think that we're two standing people who've done that with the way that our lives ended up.
Right.
And I just want to say, bro, like how proud I am of you. Like I think about you
Appreciate it,
a lot, and I think about your journey and even like what I just learned from you now, like not being able to see you in 11 years, life goes on, we start having kids, we have careers, we're figuring out our lives and who we want to be. And we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
Definitely.
And I couldn't be more proud of you, bro. Like I think about us as, 11-year-old kids going all the way up to 15, like hustling, going to Fremont, like fighting and running away from people, going to the pool, messing with girls and whatever, trying to figure it out with the resources that we had. And I think that anybody's listening to this, wherever they're at, it's like play the cards that you've been dealt. Pay attention.
Definitely.
If you are big into your faith, or if you're really big into like taking the bull by the horns, whatever it is, trust that process. Because I do believe wherever you're at, that's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think that's for me. That's been the biggest thing as far as accepting. Like I can't do no more than what I'm allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with who I am. I'm okay with what I am. And I'm okay with who I'm becoming. And I think that's the hardest part for people is that it's so much noise. You know, it's so much noise. It's so much opinions. And at the end of the day, I got into this groove of doing my best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what my best look like to nobody else, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So if my best is not good enough for you, then that's a you thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. I know what my best look like. I know what my art look like. I know what it feel like. And it's exhausting at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not into allowing people to downplay what my best is, whether it's opinion or whatever. I had a post, well, my girl, she posted something, and it was pretty much her just saying, you know, my husband works 16 hours a day, this, that, and the third. And people had so many opinions.
Yeah.
They had so many opinions.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm able to get on there and not snap, because for one, you don't know what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? But for two, it's just like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I feel good. I look good, humbly. You know, seriously. Like,
I feel you.
Seriously. I look good. I feel good. And it's just a season.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be so caught up because I can instantly read. It's hundreds and hundreds of comments. And you can easily like, man, maybe I should. Or maybe and it's like.
It's a waste of time.
Because it's like, God said, do it.
Mm-hmm.
I applied. I already had a job. I applied for another job. You know how long it took me to get the other job? It took 9 months, CJ.
Mm-hmm.
9 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing everything that I could. And I'm only applying for jobs that I know I could get.
Yeah.
I'm only applying for things that I know for a fact that I'm qualified for.
Mm-hmm.
And it still took 9 months.
Yeah.
But you know why it took 9 months? Because God gave me a job where I can show up and make money for doing absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I do absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I show up, I sleep for 2-3 hours, and I go home.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
So people looking at the comments like, okay, yeah, he working 16 hours. Y'all don't know I'm doing this for 16 hours.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to I think that goes back to like exactly just trusting where you're at and trusting that process, bro. Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about. And like again, bro, like I can't tell you how proud I am of you, and like I'm excited to see what these next 10 years are like for the both of us.
It's gonna be
and
great.
Rapping, and no, it is. And I think that
great.
again, bro, I think we're just a testament to you can make it out of anywhere.
Yeah,
and your journey's different.
Yeah,
and as long as you keep going forward, keep your head up. People say keep your head down, but I say keep your head up and pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, bro. So thank you for coming on, dog. Like 11 years has been way too long, bro.
Yeah, man.
And when I start coming back, I'm gonna start linking up with you. I come like really for a short amount of time, but I'm gonna start making it my due diligence to like spend more time.
Yeah. Everything works out the way it's supposed to. The way it's supposed to. The way it's supposed to. Everything works out.